from the Country Gamer. Today is March 30th, 2021. If all goes according to plan, this video will be coming out tomorrow, which is the 31st of March, and that's a Wednesday. So why haven't I been making videos? Well, there's some personal issues, which I won't get into, and my work schedule has just been a bit complicated. So haven't really had the time, that sort of thing. But I want to get back to it. I released my first product for the Hero game system. I've decided to switch over to using the Savage Worlds super setting, Superpowers Compendium. Savage Worlds is a good system, straight up, for this type of thing. And I am going to, in this video, give a review of their Savage Worlds Adventures Edition. That's going to be the main thrust of this video. And it's going to just be my thoughts and that sort of thing. So, however, the first Savage Worlds product will be coming out hopefully tomorrow, maybe a couple more days. And it is just a rewrite of the first Hero product called Stars and Stripes. Changed the cover image, rewrote a bunch, changed the rules. But the main thing is the concept, the characters, that sort of thing. So, first, let's talk about what I like about Savage Worlds and what I don't. Savage Worlds is an agnostic system. That's what I call it anyways. A system without a set setting. Having said that, there are plenty of really unique and original settings. For instance, there is Deadlands, which is where indirectly this system started from, which is basically horror, dark magic horror in the Old West. There's 50 Fathoms, think Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney movies type setting with a lot more weird creatures. There's Weird Wars, there's Lowlife, where you get to play sentient Twinkies and poop. I am not kidding. So there's a lot of settings out there. Now, I got introduced to the system when my friend and GM picked up something called Evernight at, I want to say, Gen Con. Now, in Evernight, it basically takes the premise of, what if the alien invasion won during a fantasy game? So you play kind of survivors trying to overthrow these high-tech aliens with swords and magic, etc. I will admit, at the time, had my heart set on playing a super setting. And so, in protest and being an annoying jerk, I decided to give my character, who was a cleric, priest, whatever they called it back then, I don't remember now, a quirk that he would not commit violence without wearing a mask. So, one thing leads to another, and we're in a dungeon, and we get invaded by rats, and I wind up taking two of the rats that a companion had killed, tying their tails together, and making a mask out of it. And that became a defining trait of the character, was that he wore a rat mask. Also, by the end of things, he was flying around with a magic sword, shooting blasts. So, kind of got my whole superhero thing after all. So, what do I like about Savage Worlds? Okay. So, I have played, I want to say, 3, maybe 4 different editions, depending on how You want to look at the two in the middle. Some people combine them as one. They were entitled different things, but there was very, very little changes between the two. The system itself, you use 5 characteristics. You use, depending on the version, about 15 or so skills, and dozens and dozens and dozens of edges, which are similar to D&D feats that allow you to have, I don't want to say supernatural abilities, though that is part of it, but similar to D&D feats, in all honesty. They give you a little bit edges, and honestly, they define your character more than almost anything else. Right? The key element, though, the key change is how much player agency the system gives the players. Not only does it have a reroll mechanic, but it also has this thing called the wild die. And honestly, the wild die is one of the best things in the game. Basically, it divides all characters into 2 major groups, wild cards and extras. And the wild cards, those are your heroes, your major villains, maybe the major lieutenants, etc., are wild cards. So and everyone else is an extra. So if you want to stop and think of Star Wars, your main characters, Luke, Leia, Han, are all wild cards. So are Vader, Boba Fett, the Emperor. However, the rebel troops and stormtroopers, the individuals that are running around and you never learn their name and they're not all that important to the plot other than they're there to shoot at each other, are extras. Now, a wild card is inherently tougher and better. The average human is a die 6. Now, the system does their attributes and skills by die type. So, a straight human would have a die 6 in every attribute, and at least I always considered a die 6 to be the professional level of a character. So, a police officer might have a die 6 in shooting and notice or investigation, etc. Now, the wild die is a die 6 you roll alongside your attribute or skill check and can substitute for it. What this honestly means is that the average wild card, who even has a rudimentary 1-point die 4 in a skill, is better off than a professional. That's the math of the situation, because the die 6 automatically balances out. And you also have the chance of the die 4. Wildcards also tend to have a little bit worse luck and better luck, because if they roll double 1s, something bad happens. This doesn't happen with the extras. Even though, that one stormtrooper did hit his head and, but, oh well. Savage Worlds is now on its, like I said, 3rd or 4th edition, however you want to look at it. And the new system has changed a few things. I feel that every game system has that one thing, that one part of the system that does not work the way anyone wants it to. For Savage Worlds, I think that's the chase rules. It seems to me every edition has had some changes to them, and things are just not quite right. Having said that, the chase rules do seem to be actually very effective until you get into their chase combat stuff. Anyways. And I'm looking forward to testing out the rules there. I haven't had a chance to use them yet. The system actually has added some really interesting ideas, a alternate wealth system, so you're not actually tracking resources. The social stuff that they added, The last couple editions is a real nice add-on. Overall, I think that the system has improved over the years. And the system is as backwards compatible as any system you're going to see. Okay? The stuff from previous editions, yeah, you're going to need to tweak a little here and there. They've changed how you measure vehicles' top speeds, for instance. But there's guidelines throughout it. They have provided many free PDFs to update various worlds. Excuse me. And long and short, I feel that it is a wonderful system that really you should give a try. Now, on to the Superpowers Compendium, 2nd edition. Overall, I think it's a really good product. I do see some problems with it. There are a lot of things, a lot of what I would consider common power tropes for a superhero genre, not there. There is, for instance, and people are going to go, well, you can do it this way and this way and this way, and they're right. But there's really no secret identity. I think that secret identity is something that really is important to the superhero genre. I know that a lot of people find them kind of hokey in a bygone era. But at the same time, it is definitely a genre trope that I feel should have been covered. The way to go about some power builds seems overly complicated for what it does. And there's a lot of baked-in special effects on some powers that I feel not necessarily was the best way to go about things. I will give you an example of the hokey builds issue. I was working on a character. I wanted to give her smoke bombs. Okay? You know, now, there is a smoke grenade device that basically does what I want, and that's what I wound up doing. I made a little house rule about what I call mini grenades, but the long and short of it is I wanted the character to be able to make smoke clouds. Couldn't find much on blocking a sense. Finally found something. It's under illusion. Okay? So instead of, here's a smoke cloud power, or a generate darkness power, or, blind people power, something along those lines, you have to build illusion, give it a modifier to block senses, and then a limitation that all you can make is a smoke cloud out of it. Oh, and you also have to add something called video reel or something like that to make it so that it blocks video cameras and such. Now, to me, that seems kind of an overly complicated way to go about doing what should be a relatively easy build. However, I have not really found much that you could not do if you're willing to jump through the right hoops, which every system's going to have some of that, and I'm probably just picking on it a little bit. I also how to put this? I also feel that there's a few other things missing, like a vehicle rule, etc. So my plan, I've been kind of going through and making edits, and this is what I feel it needs type things. And I plan on including that up on my website, well, when I get to it. So, overall, I would give Savage Worlds as a system 4.5 out of 5 stars. And I would give the Superpowers Compendium, this is hard, I'm going to say 3.5 stars. It does the job, and it does it okay. It does it fairly well. But there are points where you will hit a roadblock, and those roadblocks are not easy to fix. Making a vigilante with a hot car is almost impossible. And I can already hear people going, oh, well, you want the car to just be the speed power. No, because I want other people to be able to ride in it and be protected by it. So, yeah, there's probably a few ways I could go about doing that. Oh, yeah, use what. Okay, the fact is, it's an overly complicated way of going about what should be a relatively easy thing. One of the things that I have done for my campaign, for my setting, is to add a vehicle power, and that will be up on my website, defining it, etc. There was one in the first edition of the book, too, by the way. However, so that's what I've got there. Also, take a look for Stars and Stripes, Fox Files Stars and Stripes. The first of my Centurion Earth world. My Centurion Earth world is basically your standard Superpowers world. DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Valiant, etc. With a few oddball twists and consistencies. The main thing is some background information. All the powers are actually from interdimensional beings mating with humans thousands of years ago. The first one produced a child named Gilgamesh. There was this guy named Hercules, blah, blah. And their genetic material has kind of gotten infused with humanity over the centuries. And sometimes there's enough of this interdimensional energy, genes, whatever, to create superpowered individuals. The costumed thing started in the late 1700s during the American Revolutionary War with a guy named Agent Liberty, who I'm trying to write up for Savage Worlds, and I'm having a little bit of problem with him, or more specifically, Freedom, his horse. Just, again, some mechanical issues I'm having with the Superpowers Compendium. Overall, though, like I said, I think that it's a good system. It's not nearly as clunky as some other systems are. I really do want to emphasize that. I am not, everything has strengths and weaknesses. Even me. So, I'm going to wish you all happy gaming. I will get back to painting. I've had the same dang miniature on my table for about 4 months now. It's a drill thing that I got from Mantic Games. That I'm going to use for my squad army for 40k. Though I haven't even played more than 2 or 3 games of 9th edition. So, yeah. And I wish you all happy gaming. Have a good one.